morning students, welcome to video lectures on chemistry. So in the last class we discussed about expressions of concentration. Expressions of concentration. So the first expression is nothing but molarity. So molarity is denoted by capital M and it is also defined as, so what is the molarity formula? N divided by V, that is number of moles of solute present in 1 liter of the solution, where V is nothing but volume of solution in liters, and this is simply M is equal to, so N is nothing but weight by molecular weight for solute into 1 by V in terms of liters. And finally, in terms of milliliters, molarity is given by W by M into 1000 divided by volume. This is in terms of milliliters. So molarity is equal to weight of the solute divided by molecular weight of the solute into 1000 divided by volume of the solution, that is in terms of milliliters. And so second expression for molar concentration is normality. We also explained normality. N is equal to, so what is N? So this is normality, and it is denoted by capital N, and it is given by N is equal to number of equivalents divided by volume. So number of equivalents of solute divided by volume of the solution, that is also equal to, what is the formula for normality? Weight of the solute divided by equivalent weight into 1000 divided by volume. So again this is in terms of milliliters. Therefore normality is equal to weight divided by equivalent weight into 1000 divided by volume. Now we discussed about equivalent weight. So for acids, equivalent weight is equal to, what is the formula? That is equal to molecular weight divided by basicity. So this is the calculation of equivalent weight for a given acid, that is equal to molecular weight divided by basicity. Also, what is basicity? Basicity is nothing but number of replaceable H plus ions. Number of replaceable H plus ions, that is equal to basicity. So equivalent weight for an acid, that is equal to molecular weight by basicity. If suppose if it is base, then equivalent weight is equal to, so this is equal to molecular weight divided by acidity. So similarly, what is acidity? Acidity is nothing but number of replaceable OH minus ions. So for an acid, basicity is nothing but number of, acidity is equal to number of replaceable OH minus ions. And now third case, if it is a salt, then what is equivalent weight? Equivalent weight is equal to molecular weight divided by charge. So charge on the ion, either anion or cation. So if it is NaCl, so charge is equal to 1. So for cation it is +1, for anion that is -1. So total charge is always equal to 1. Therefore for a given salt, equivalent weight is equal to molecular weight by charge of the ions. And fourth case is for metals. for metals. If it is iron, then iron having only +2 state as well as +3 state. Therefore here transfer of electrons. So how many electrons are transferred between iron 2 and iron 3? So there is only one electron transfer. Therefore for a given metal, equivalent weight is equal to molecular weight divided by number of electron transferred. Number of electron transferred. If suppose our given metal is chromium, then so chromium is always exist in +6 in the case of dichromate, whereas it is always having a +3 oxidation state as a stable. Therefore there is a transfer of 3 electrons for each chromium atom. So here there are 2 chromium atoms, therefore it is totally 2 into 3 electrons, that is equal to 6 electron transfer reaction. That is why for dichromate equivalent weight calculation, equivalent weight is equal to molecular weight divided by number of electron transfer, that is equal to 6. Similarly, if suppose our given metal is manganese, so manganese, if suppose KMnO4, potassium permanganate. So in this, calculate oxidation state for manganese. So for potassium that is +1, plus for manganese it is X, and 4 into each oxygen having -2 charge, and the total value is 0. Therefore 1 plus x minus 8 is equal to 0, and hence x is equal to +7. Therefore in KMnO4, potassium permanganate, manganese having +7 oxidation state. It is having +7 oxidation state, but in general manganese is always present at +2 oxidation state as a stable. Therefore, how many number of electron transferred in this reaction? There are totally 5 electron transferred between Mn+2 as well as Mn+7. Therefore, in the calculation of potassium permanganate equivalent weight for KMnO4, that is equal to molecular weight divided by 5, where 5 is nothing but number of electron transferred for KMnO4, potassium permanganate. So in this way we calculate equivalent weight for all compounds like acids, bases, salts, metals. So basing on the number of electron transferred, we have to calculate the equivalent weight for a given metal. So this is all about molarity and normality. Now third expression is molality, that is denoted by small m. Molarity is capital M and molality is small m, and the definition for molality is number of moles of solute present in 1 kg of the solvent. 1 kg of the solvent. This is known as molality. Therefore, in the case of molality, so how many number of moles of solute present in 1 kg of the solvent? So here we consider the weight of the solvent, not volume of the solution. In the case of molarity, we consider the volume of the solution, whereas in the case of molality, we only consider, so what is the weight of that solvent. So in 1 kg of this solvent, so how many number of moles of solute is present? That is known as molality. Therefore, just wait. Okay. So molality is defined as the number of moles of solute present in 1 kg of the solvent. In the case of molarity, we consider the volume of the solution, whereas in the case of molality, here the number of moles. So how many number of moles of solute present in, so weight of the solvent, that is 1 kg of the solvent, then it is known as molality, denoted by small m. Therefore small m is equal to, molality is equal to, so number of moles of solute divided by weight of the solvent, So this is the formula for molality. So in the case of molarity, the denominator term is volume of the solution, whereas here we consider the weight of the solvent in kgs. Therefore this is equal to number of moles, that is again given by weight by molecular weight, into 1 by weight of the solvent, that is always capital W, because solvent is always greater than that of solute. So this is a large quantity, hence it is denoted by capital letter, whereas small w represents weight of the solute, so that is always less. So here W by m into 1 by capital W in kgs. If it is represented in terms of grams, then molality is equal to weight by molecular weight into 1000 divided by capital W in grams. So this is the formula for molality. Therefore molality is equal to weight by molecular weight into 1000 divided by capital W. So here small w is weight of the solute, whereas capital W is weight of solvent. So this is the difference. So in this equation there is no volume. So here it is weight, molecular weight, and it is also weight. So there is no volume. So it means molality does not depend on volume of the solution, whereas both molarity and normality, capital M as well as capital N, both are depends on volume of the solution. Whereas molality does not depends on volume. Of the solution. Now, which is the best expression for concentration? So here both m and n are depends on volume, whereas small m does not depends on volume, since volume depends on temperature. So V is always directly proportional to temperature. If suppose there is a change in temperature, then there is a change in volume. If there is a change in volume, then there is a change in molarity as well as normality. But no change in molality, small m. Therefore molality is the best expression for concentration. Therefore molality is the best expression for concentration, because it does not depends on volume. Volume depends on temperature. Therefore as the temperature changes, its concentration in terms of molarity and normality both are changes, because both are depends on volume. Here molality does not depend on volume, that is why this is the best expression for concentration of a solution. So this is about molality. Now fourth one is mole fraction. Fourth expression is mole fraction, in brackets x, it is x. So mole fraction of a one component present in a solution is always equal to the ratio between number of moles of that component and the total number of moles of components. Therefore, if suppose let A and B are the two components present in a solution, where A is nothing but solvent and B is nothing but solute. So these are the two components. Consider this is a solution AB. In this, A is a solvent that is present in large amount and B is a solute that is present in small amount. Now, N is the or N1 is the number of moles of solvent and N2 is the number of moles of solute. Then the mole fraction that is denoted by X. Mole fraction that is denoted by X. So for a solvent, that is simply X1 or XA. So if it is X1, that is nothing but for solvent. So that is always given by the ratio of number of moles of that component divided by total number of moles. So this is known as mole fraction. So what is the definition? It is defined as the ratio between number of moles of one component and the total number of moles of components present in the solution. So here there are two components, one is A and B. So it is having N1 number of moles and this is N2 number of moles. Therefore, the mole fraction of solvent, it is given by N1 divided by N1 plus N2. Similarly, for solute, so for solute, what is mole fraction? So that is denoted by X2. Then it is given by number of moles of solute, that is equal to N2 divided by N1 plus N2. So this is the mole fraction for solute. And also, what is the X1 plus X2 value? That is total mole fraction of components. So here there are two components, one is having X1 mole fraction and the second one is having X2 mole fraction. Therefore, the total mole fraction, that is X1 plus X2, that is given by N1 by N1 plus N2 plus N2 by N1 plus N2. So both are same terms in denominator. Therefore, it is equal to N1 plus N2 by N1 plus N2. That is equal to, so both get cancelled and finally this is equal to 1. Therefore, X1 plus X2 is always equal to 1. So what does this mean? So the total number of mole fraction for all the component present in a solution is always equal to 1. If suppose there are three components A, B, C having a mole fraction X1, X2, X3, then X1 plus X2 plus X3. So that is total mole fraction of all the components present in this solution. This is always equal to 1. Therefore, the total mole fraction for this solution is equal to 1, and also here it is having two components. Therefore, X1 plus X2 is equal to 1. Therefore, these are the four expressions. One is molarity, normality, molality and mole fraction. All these are the representation of concentration of a given solution. So for any solution, its concentration is represented either in terms of molarity, normality, molality and mole fraction. So this is all about expressions of concentration. Now next topic in this chapter is colligative properties. Colligative properties. All dilute solutions exhibit colligative properties. So now what is colligative property? So a property which does not depends on nature of the solute, nature of the solute, but depends on number of moles of solute, number of moles of solute present in the solution, present in the solution, then that property is known as a colligative property. Therefore, any property, that property does not depends on nature, but it is only depends on, so how many number of moles of solute present in that solution. So property directly proportional to number of moles of solute, then that property is known as colligative property. Therefore, colligative property, so CP, colligative property is directly proportional to number of moles of solute, number of moles of solute present in the solution. So this is known as colligative property. So any property, it is only depends on number of moles of solute, but not depends on number of moles of solvent, or also does not depends on nature of this solution. So then it is only colligative property. So there are 4 colligative properties. Also here, only dilute solutions exhibit colligative properties. Only dilute solutions exhibit colligative properties. So what is dilute solutions? If suppose the amount of this solute is very less compared to solvent, then that solution is known as dilute solution. If suppose 0.001 normal NaCl, so what does this mean? Here its concentration is very small. So very small concentration means, so there is a very small amount of solute is present in that solution. So this is a dilute solution. Therefore, this type of dilute solutions are only exhibit colligative properties. So there are totally 4 colligative properties are there. These are, so there are 4 properties. First one is relating lowering of vapor pressure. Relating lowering of vapor pressure. So these are the 4 important essay questions in this chapter. Only 4 questions from this unit. So first one is relating lowering of vapor pressure. And now second one. Second one is elevation in boiling point. Elevation in boiling point. And the third one is depression in freezing point. Depression in freezing point. And the fourth one is osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure. So all these are colligative properties. All these are colligative properties. It means all these properties are only depends on number of moles of solute present in that dilute solution. It does not depends on nature, as well as does not depends on number of moles of solvent. It is only depends on number of moles of solute. So what are the properties? First one, relating lowering of vapor pressure, and the second one is elevation in boiling point, third one is depression in freezing point, and last one is osmotic pressure. Now today I am going to start relating lowering of vapor pressure. So first one is known as relating lowering of vapor pressure. So RLVP, relating lowering of vapor pressure, is simply denoted as RLVP. So now first of all, what is vapor pressure? What is vapor pressure? So what is vapor pressure? The pressure the pressure developed by the substance is known as vapor pressure. So consider a beaker with an full of water. So this is a liquid. Right. So here, so this is a beaker containing water molecule or a liquid solution. If suppose, so these are the molecule present at the surface of the liquid, and now these molecules exert some pressure with atmosphere, and this pressure is known as vapor pressure. Therefore, the pressure exerted by the vapor molecules present on a liquid through atmosphere is known as vapor pressure, or simply it is defined as the pressure developed by the substance. So here, so how much pressure developed by this substance to atmosphere? So that is known as vapor pressure. Therefore, this is a pure solvent, that is no more any solute. So if it is water, then this is nothing but a pure solvent. Therefore, the vapor pressure of a solvent is defined as the pressure developed by the vapor molecules present on the solvent into atmosphere. That pressure is nothing but vapor pressure. So the pressure with an vapor. So vapor pressure. If suppose it is a pure solvent, then the vapor pressure of pure solvent is denoted as P naught, where P naught is vapor pressure of pure solvent, any solvent. Now, whenever a non-volatile solute is added to this solvent, any non-volatile solute, if suppose, so this is water, consider this is water. Now, I am adding this water to a sugar. So this is water. Now I consider like this. So what are these? This is a solution of sugar. So all these blue dots represents sugar particles. So this is a sugar solution. So white is solution, already have a pure solvent. Now I am adding a non-volatile solute. So sugar, this is non-volatile. Non-volatile solute. Whenever this non-volatile solute is added to a pure solvent, then it equal to solution. Then it is a solution. So solution is nothing but homogeneous mixture of solute as well as a solvent. So here solvent is water and a non-volatile solute is sugar particles. So whenever sugar particles are added to pure solvent water, then it gives a solution. This is solution. Solute plus solvent gives solution. Therefore, we get a dilute solution. So now look at the dilute solution. So here on the surface of the solvent there are non-volatile sugar particles. So here this is the pressure exerted by the gas or a liquid, and this is the pressure, and here it is the pressure. But so compared to pure solvent, so in the case of pure solvent, all the molecules present at the surface exerted some pressure with atmosphere, whereas in the case of dilute solution, on the surface there are sugar particles, these are not volatile. Therefore, after adding a non-volatile solute to the solvent, its vapor pressure is decreases, and it is represented as PS. So this is the pressure after adding non-volatile solute, and this pressure is denoted as PS, where PS is nothing but vapor pressure of the solution. vapor pressure of solution. Therefore, when a non-volatile solute is added to the pure solvent, then the vapor pressure of the solution is decreases. So that decrease in vapor pressure is known as lowering of vapor pressure. So therefore, lowering of vapor pressure is equal to, so what is the definition for lowering of vapor pressure? When a non-volatile solute is added to a pure solvent, then vapor pressure of solution is decreases. Non-volatile solute is added to the pure solvent, then its vapor pressure of the solution is decreases. So here we have two pressures. So one is P naught, that is for pure solvent, and one more term is PS, that is for solution. So which is more? Initially you have pure solvent, all the gas molecules or all the molecules present at the surface are exerted some pressure with atmosphere, whereas in the case of solution, at this surface there is a non-volatile particles. So these are not volatile, it means its vapor pressure is decreases. Now the decrease in pressure, that is relating lowering of vapor pressure, or lowering, that is decrease in vapor pressure, that is given by, so P naught minus PS. So what is the formula? LVP, lowering of vapor pressure, that is decrease in vapor pressure, that is equal to initial pressure minus so pressure of the solution. So initially it is having high value because it is pure solvent, but after adding non-volatile solute, its pressure is decreases. Now how much pressure decreases? That is given by lowering of vapor pressure. Therefore, lowering of vapor pressure is equal to P naught minus PS. P naught is vapor pressure of the pure solvent and PS is vapor pressure of the solution. Now RLVP is equal to RLVP. So RLVP is nothing but relative lowering of vapor pressure. So what does this mean? So the ratio between lowering of vapor pressure with vapor pressure of pure solvent. This is known as relating lowering of vapor pressure. So that means RLVP is equal to LVP, that is decrease in vapor pressure. So what is that value? That is equal to P naught minus PS divided by P naught, that is vapor pressure of the pure solvent. This is known as RLVP, relative lowering of vapor pressure. Therefore, RLVP is equal to P naught minus PS by P naught. Now it is a colligative property. We have to prove this is colligative property. So what is that? Therefore, this P naught minus PS by P naught value is directly proportional to number of moles of the solute, but not depends on nature. So we have to prove this is a colligative property, and it is proved by using Raoult's law. So this is a colligative property, and it is explained by using Raoult's law. So what is Raoult's law? So according to Raoult's law, the relative lowering of vapor pressure, of a dilute solution is always equal to mole fraction of the solute, is always equal to mole fraction of the solute. So this is known as Raoult's law. Therefore, according to Raoult's law, the relating lowering of vapor pressure of a dilute solution, this is always equal to mole fraction of the solute. Therefore, P naught minus Ps by P naught. So this is relating lowering of vapor pressure. This is always equal to mole fraction of the solute, that is X2 value. So mole fraction is always denoted by capital X. So here it is a solute. So for solvent, in our convenience, it is X1. So here it is solute. Therefore, it is represented in terms of X2. So what is X2? X2 is nothing but mole fraction of solute. So this is always equal to number of moles of solute divided by total number of moles. That is nothing but for solvent as well as solute. So where X2 is mole fraction of solute, and hence n, small n represent number of moles of solute, and similarly capital N represents number of moles of solvent. Therefore, number of moles of solute divided by total number of moles of solute as well as solvent. So total number of moles of total components. So here only two components. This is for solute and capital N for solvent. But so here it is only applicable to dilute solutions. So what is dilute solutions? The number of moles of solute is always negligible compared to number of moles of solvent. Therefore, if it is a dilute solution, n value, small n value is always less than capital N. So number of moles of solvent is greater than that of solute. That is why this is a dilute solution. In the case of dilute solution, capital N value is very high compared to small n, and hence n is neglected. Because this is very small value, therefore small n, that is number of moles of solute, is neglected. Therefore, P naught minus Ps divided by P naught, that is relating lowering of vapor pressure. So this is equal to n divided by capital N, where small n in denominator term is neglected because it is a dilute solution. Now by using this Raoult's law, we have to prove P naught minus Ps by P naught, that is relating lowering of vapor pressure. It is a colligative property. That means it is only depends on number of moles of solute. So time is up. Stop here today, and I shall continue this topic on afternoon section. Thank you.